competition with the world. Together with the Busan Global City Foundation, we are building a global hub city where citizens can be happy.
We are
the firefighter duo.
Winter is so dry. Let's prevent fire by keeping these 3 rules. If you take caution, you can prevent a fire.
The number 1 cause of fire in winter are electric blankets. Take special caution with highly flammable materials such as memory foam, toppers, and bedding.
Number 2, having too many appliances on the power outlet is dangerous. Always unplug all the appliances that you're not currently using.
Number 3, check the heater is off before leaving the house. Leaving it on for an extended period of time can cause a fire.
Let's all take part in preventing fire and have warm and safe winter this year.
Tune in to BeFM Busan영어방송 for an emergency broadcast.
This campaign is brought to you by BeFM 부산영어방송.
안녕하세요. 배우 문지은입니다. 우리 사회에는 일을 할 수 있어도 사회에 나아갈 기회조차 얻지 못하는 발달장애인이 있습니다. 그 여정에 함께하는 위드 슬로우 스타터 캠페인을 시작합니다. 더 많은 첫걸음이 시작될 수 있도록 발달장애인의 출발을 응원해주세요. 공익광고 협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Education is often considered a really powerful tool, even some say the most powerful weapon, a source of enlightenment, a social ladder even. Education is on everyone's mind as the country just finished up the Sunung or the CSAT yesterday. And so we are fully in college admission season. But although education is supposed to be this great equalizer, data shows us that maybe that's no longer the case. So how can we make sure that everyone has equal access to education and, more importantly, equal opportunities? So I think that's a really important question that needs maybe some answers in the days to come or even years. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Friday, November 15th on BeFM 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. Happy Friday, TGIF. And I know a group of young people who are probably really, really happy that it is Friday, and especially the Friday after Sunung. So, by the way, for all the test takers who went to their testing site and took that really, really rigorous exam, just applause for all of you. And it really does not matter to me how you did. I know you did, to the best of your ability. So I applaud you. We all applaud you and give you our full support, whatever happens, whatever results may come. So let me give you 3 words: education, income, equality. These are 3 issues that concern us all and 3 major challenges for our Korean, state, our country. So we're going to look at the state of income equality, or rather, income inequality, 소득 격차, here domestically in Korea. So according to Statistics Korea and other government agencies, the income inequality levels in the country have been easing compared to the past. However, if we look at things through an international kind of perspective, through the international lens, South Korea still has a ways to go. So out of all 37 OECD nations, South Korea's income inequality ranked 26th. 26th. 26th out of 37. So we're kind of in the bottom to mid or mid to bottom range, towards the bottom though. And this issue of income inequality has gotten worse, especially with the elderly and for business owners. So this income inequality then spreads to nearly all other aspects of one's finances, namely things like real estate, 부동산, and financial investments, 금융투자. And this is why we have phenomena like 영끌. We've talked about this, right? Where people, especially young people, they draw upon all their financial resources, maxing out on loans to buy a home, only to struggle with a high interest rate. 높은 이자율. 이자 아직도 높잖아요. So with all of these inequalities abounding, does education act as the great equalizer? 자, 이러한 불평등이 만연한 상황에서 이 교육이 평등의 장치로 작용할 수 있나요? Is a question that I want to throw out. That's not our text topic, but is education really the great equalizer? That's a question I'm just throwing out there because, we just had the 수능 yesterday, but we're going to get into the details of everything that went on, and we're going to try to tackle this very question throughout the next 2 hours. But for today's text topic, are you ready? Here we go. We're going to switch gears. If something happened to you, let's say something bad, okay, an accident, okay, or you did something kind of bad. Who do you call first? Who's the first person you think of? You pick up your phone and you call. Who is that person? What about vice versa? Who is most likely to call you first if something happened to them? 자, 토픽은요. 내가 사고 쳤다 혹은 내가 사고가 났다. 내가 제일 먼저 전화하는 사람은 반대로 일 생겼을 때 나한테 제일 먼저 전화 걸 것 같은 사람은 누구예요? So think about that. I'm going to let you ponder just a little bit. You can send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to that platform, search for BeFM or 부산영어방송 to find our channel. Click on that, and then you can subscribe, log in, and chat with our other waivers. Also, on your phone, pound 9050 샵 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free through our Kakao Talk channel. Same thing there. BeFM, 부산영어방송 to find our channel. Also, the ways you can listen to us. We have so many ways these days. I love it. 90.5, 103.3 FM on the radio. That's if you're in the Busan area. However, many of you are not. So that's why we have the beauty of YouTube. Like I said, we are streaming live as we speak. You can watch us now or later on at your leisure. Also, we have the Patbang app. Plus, we have our own BeFM app that you can download, both free of charge. And you can tune into Morning Wave whenever, wherever you are. It is Friday, so let's take a look ahead to what we have for you today. All right, so we have Casey coming in for Foreign Press Highlights, and he always has really interesting stories about Korea through the perspective of international outlets. Also, what in the world to close us out later on? Vasana is going to be joining me. And for our special interview, since we're talking so much about youth and education, what about this topic? Well, Australia's social media ban for youth. So apparently, Australia, there has been a proposal of a law to ban children under the age of 16 from using social media, even with parental permission. Oh, I don't know how my, teenager would react to that, but we're going to talk about this. That's coming up with an expert in hour number 2. So stay tuned, and I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:07. These are today's headlines. Court issues arrest warrants for pollster Myung Tae-yoon and ex-lawmaker Kim Young-sun. Changwon District Court issued arrest warrants for self-proclaimed power broker Myung Tae-yoon and former lawmaker Kim Young-sun at the center of an influence peddling scandal linked to President Yoon Suk-yeol and First Lady Kim Gun-hee. Yoon departs for Peru to attend APEC summit. President Yoon Suk-yeol departed for Peru yesterday to attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC summit, then head to Brazil on Sunday local time for the Group of 20 or G20 summit for the next 2 days. Lee Jae-myung's wife fined for election law violations. A regional court yesterday fined Kim Hae-kyung, wife of Democratic Party leader Lee Jae-myung, 1.5 million won for providing free meals during her husband's run in the party's presidential primary. Opposition unilaterally passes revised bill targeting First Lady. The main opposition Democratic Party, or DP, yesterday unilaterally passed a contentious bill calling for a special investigation into allegations involving First Lady Kim Gun-hee, despite fierce opposition from the ruling party. Son Heung-min scores as Team Korea beats Kuwait 3-1. Captain Son Heung-min marked his international return with a goal as South Korea defeated Kuwait 3-1 for their fourth consecutive victory in the ongoing World Cup qualification round in Kuwait City. And these are today's headlines. All right, everybody, let's say hi to Haley. It's Friday, our favorite day.
Yay,
it's here. We made it.
Here.
We just have an hour.
I can't
and
see
50.
me on the.
Oh, you know, we'll get our engineer to fix that in a little bit.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah,
well,
because
listeners,
I have
in the
no idea
meantime-
how to do that.
In the meantime, you can hear my voice.
Yes.
And imagine my. Oh, there we go. Hey.
There. I thought you meant the monitor was black.
Oh, yeah, it was. Okay, got it. Got it.
Got it. You're there.
I am here.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, so before we get into our updates, let's talk about our text topic. So, who's the person, your go-to person? You 사고 쳤어. 사고 당했어.
Knock on wood.
Yes. Who do you call?
Okay, so I have this
Yes.
thing of like, well, okay, single woman, whatever, that whole thing. I need to be independent. I feel the need to be independent, take care of stuff on my own. So,
Yes.
for example, my car, my family car, our old family car, which like I called it jokingly, it's a car, elder abuse, because that car was like old, but we drive. My family, we
guys
drive and we
travel a
take
lot.
road trips.
Yes, yes.
So that car just stopped in the middle of the road. It just died on me. So I pulled over, and it actually died on me twice, which is, yeah, why? Got a new car. We're fine. But I called insurance,
And?
and then my dad. I was like, by the way, your car, at that point, it was, your car died on me. Almost got stranded on the road. This is
no.
all your fault. But I called insurance. Tow truck's coming. Yeah, so, yeah. And then vice versa. My younger sister, of course, I am her go-to person. She will, including yesterday, she will ask me before she asks any search, the internet. I'm like, you're 21. You have
It has nothing
the
to do with
internet.
age, Haley. The reason I say this, I call my younger sister for
Yeah.
everything. She is my green
Yeah, you're that thing, cool something.
portal
yeah.
for
your
everything
Google,
Korean.
Your Aver,
Yes.
yes.
It's just a natural kind of reflex.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. And like, so my
She
roommate.
asked me something, and I didn't
Yes.
know because, and then I looked it up on Google, and I was like, dude, it's right there. Like, you have fingers.
Yes. Well, we're going to jump into our segment right now. So Busan Update. So first, let's talk about this. We have to start with a little bit of bad news about our city's economy. What's going on?
All right, so it's really not a great time for the country overall, and we're going to talk about stocks and everything in just a little bit.
Yes.
But for Busan, we are seeing a big decline in employment and even the number of self-employed people and business owners.
Yes.
So we're looking at the figures from the Dongnam Regional Statistics Office for the month of October. In that month, 1.69 million people newly found employment, but this is a drop of 2,000 people compared to the same time last year. Employment did increase the rate, at least, by a tiny fraction to 58.3%. However, there were big discrepancies by sector.
Yes.
What I mean, let's look at the manufacturing and public services. They did hire a lot more people.
Yes.
However, we are seeing huge declines in construction. So we're looking at minus 24,000 people. Also, retail, restaurant, and accommodations industries are losing 32,000 employed people. Also, electronics, transportations, communications down by about 6,000. So what's notable here?
Yes.
Let's look at these two. Construction and the service industries, restaurants, hotels, they are ones that are closely linked with demand, 내수, right? So it's a sign that people just are not going out there and spending money. So that means that the industries that are linked to demand, they don't need to hire or they cannot hire as many people.
Sure.
So like with the previous month, we are seeing business owners and people who worked for family businesses. They're either closing down the business or mostly shutting them down and moving to working for wages. They're finding jobs instead of creating their own. And we are seeing more senior employment leading the employment market overall, but that also means that youth employment is faltering.
It kind of seems like, one segment of the population is doing a little bit better. Other demographics, not so much. Well, one sector that we can count on is tourism. And we're still kind of in the peak. I know technically, it may be winter, but not really. It's peak fall tourism season right now.
Because no winter has a daytime high of 20.
No.
And me walking around in short sleeve in a t-shirt.
Exactly.
And there are high hopes for Busan's tourism.
Yes.
The goal, 3 million people. So we're pretty much trying to get as many people as we have in Busan in terms of our population in foreign tourists. So far this year, at least from January to September, we saw over 2 million foreign visitors to Busan.
Okay.
And we don't have official figures yet for October, but October is like the festival month.
Yes.
So we can expect a huge boost from that whole festival, Siwar, as well as this month's fireworks festival earlier on.
True.
So Chinese group tourists, what we call Ukers, they're also coming back in large numbers. And Busan City's brand is also increasing internationally, and tourism industry has opened up new avenue with large cruises coming into Busan port. So with the fourth quarter's numbers for right now, we are going to be at least close to 3 million, if not maybe reach it. Fingers crossed. So Mayor Park Hyung-jun, he did set his sights on exceeding foreign tourism to Busan by 2-3 million by the year 2026. And I don't know, we might overachieve it and, reach that goal earlier.
Yes, well, here's hoping, right? And we do have a lot of events lined up for kind of this late fall, winter season as well, right?
We do, because I don't care what the weather says. For some people, it is already Christmas season.
Yes.
I know some of our waivers who do have done or have their Christmas lights up.
Sure.
And we'll get to the Christmas thing, but let's look at G-Star. So we got it.
Yes.
It opened yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
I took the subway yesterday from the station, and just people are milling into Centum City Station, and I was like, oh, that's why. This is why. And the light festivals are kicking off as we speak. But let's look at the light festivals. The Millak Luce Festival and the Samyeon Tree Festivals. These are ongoing. And then let's look at the traditional Gwangbok Winter Lights Festival in Nampodong. That opens today. So this year's theme is Gwangbok Light's Masterpiece. So it shows Chunggu District's history and culture through light installations. This is one of the oldest areas in Busan, so lots to see. And this year, there are new features like holograms and what's called anamorphic technology, and in Korean it's anamorphic technology. It's basically it'll be shot onto the tree. It's a technique of shooting widescreen pictures, but shooting that onto reflecting that onto a smaller screen.
Okay.
It's a bit of a visual. I don't know, what was your anamorphic technology? Let's go check it out.
Go check it out.
Yeah,
to see.
Because I am not entirely sure, actually.
Yes.
But it's going to be cool. There will also be street performances throughout the area. The opening ceremony, once again, is tonight, and the festival will go on through February 2nd of next year, so you've got some time.
Yes, and the hope is that this festival is going to bring a lot of, foot traffic and business to the area, because it has really changed.
We are going to have to come back full circle to the economy again,
Yes.
because Nampo-dong, where Gwangbok-lo is located, it was once like the most bustling downtown area.
It was like the hot
10,
spot.
15 years ago, this
Yes.
is where I took my friends when they came to Busan. In recent years, though, we are seeing just empty buildings and storefronts.
Right.
And we're talking including in like the main area, even the ground level stores.
Yes.
They have the for lease sign. And this is, by the way, in spite of the proprietors, the 건물주, they're lowering their rent, but no one's moving in. And there are even few spots that have gone empty for years, and we're talking about like entire floors. So real estate agents in the area, they say the pandemic definitely changed retail trends, and the
Right.
downfall of in-person cosmetic stores, clothing and cell phone stores, they
Yes.
did lead to the spike in empty stores. So local businesses are definitely hoping to benefit from the tree festival this winter.
Right. So it made me a little sad the last time I went to visit. It was a few weeks back. I took my niece and nephew there, and we were surprised too.
Right.
The storefronts on the ground
huge
level,
change.
lots of for rent for lease signs. So thanks for going over all the Busan updates. We'll check in with you real soon. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
And back to you, the waivers. We are going to be talking about the text topic. If something happens to you, instinct, who do you call? I'm going to say, because he might be listening, my roommate. I call my roommate. Who do I really call? My sister. Because she is so knowledgeable in all things Korean. My roommate, bless his soul, he is very helpful, but just not in Korean. So, yes, it's a minus for him. Anyhow, here is your traffic and weather. It's time for your traffic report. It's now 7:20. It looks backed up on Luno Samsung-daedo right now from the Myeongji Underpass to Shinho Bridge, the usual area as you know. Also, looking slow on Nakdong-Namno from Myeongji Ramp to Cheongyang-Sa-Ogui intersection. Also, there is congestion building on Pyeongno going out of the city right around the Wondong ramp. Currently, it's 14 degrees Celsius, and there's some light rain coming down in parts of the city. It's going to be cloudy all day long with a daytime high of just 20, so slightly cooler than yesterday. Looking ahead to the weekend, clouds will linger through tomorrow. Pretty similar temperatures as to today, if not slightly warmer. The sun will make an appearance on Sunday with a daytime high of 18 and a low of 13. So it's going to cool down even further on Sunday. And so, yes, pack an umbrella. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time for News Digest. So Haley's rejoining us, and we're going to go over the first bit of news. Everybody wants to know. I got like the first reports of this, from people who are taking the test. We're going to go over yesterday's CSAT or Sunung. Everybody is asking the difficulty level.
Right.
How was it?
Not that hard.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
I mean, depends on who you ask. but-
Depends on if you as a
but
test taker.
experts say it
Yes.
wasn't as hard as anticipated. What was your anecdotal, evidence?
The person that I tell you about off air, he said everything was okay, but the chemistry was harder than previous years.
I see.
So the English, math, the Korean language,
the core
not
subject, the
he said it was
common
fine.
subjects, we look at the 국영수s, right? The Korean language,
Yes.
math, and English, more or less easy is usual by most accounts.
Yes.
So the head of the exam committee said that the government briefing yesterday that the exam was completely free of killer questions, as it has been for the past couple of years. It was evenly distributed with moderate and appropriate difficulty levels. And they said that the questions dealt with topics that are handled in public education spheres, but were enough to discern the students' levels. That part we're going to have to see.
Okay.
Because experts do say that there are only about one or two kind of tricky questions per subject that can determine the 1등급, the top tiers.
Yes.
Because once again, you don't get the, it's not an absolute score, it's not a raw score.
Right.
The top 10% get into tier 1. The next 10% tier 2, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Number 1, the first period Korean language, 국어, was easier than last year's, and it was apparently closer to September's mock test in terms of the difficulty level. 9월 모의고사에 더 가까웠다고 합니다. Because last year's Korean was considered like the most difficult in recent history. About 50% of the questions were linked to the EBS curriculum, especially in the literature section.
Oh, okay. So what will the threshold be for the top levels in terms of scores? I know we don't know for sure,
We
but
don't.
we can kind of guesstimate according
Right.
to the experts.
Right. So experts at different education, private and public institutions have their estimates out.
Yes.
So college admissions institutions saw about 90 to 94 points, 90점에서 94점, for the threshold for that 1등급 tier 1 in Korean language. And they have different sections, but they have different choices within it, but that's the range.
Okay.
This is, by the way, up 8 points compared to last year's, which means that was that much easier because
Okay.
that means you need to have gotten fewer questions wrong to be in the top 10%. Math also, we're looking at about a 4 to 6 point difference higher than last year's. If you took the probabilities and statistics, what is it, 확률과 통계, you needed to have scored between 92 and 95 or above to be in tier 1. If you took calculus, 미적분, and we can tell that was harder because 84 to 88 would be the bottom threshold to get you into that top 10% level, 1등급 level.
Okay.
Yes.
So that is what we know thus far. And of course, the official scores don't come out until later. So we will continue to give you what we know. In the meantime, let's go to politics for this next story. The first court verdict for the Democratic Party chair, Lee Jae-myung, will come out today. So let's go over what this means. What are the concerns?
Right. So he faces 4 trials. This is number 1. It's the election law violation case where Lee Jae-myung faces charges of allegedly having lied during his presidential campaign about this high-profile land development project during his tenure as the Seongnam City mayor. So by the way, keep in mind, this is not the land development project scandal case, but about him allegedly lying about it. So the prosecution says that Lee Jae-myung tried to distance himself from that famous Daejangdong scandal and therefore lied about some of the facts surrounding whether he knew some individuals implicated in it. And that was during the parliamentary inspection of the government. So he lied while under oath. So this is one of the 4 cases he is facing. And Seoul Central District Court will issue that verdict at 2:30 this afternoon.
Yes, and this verdict, whichever way it goes, it's going to have far-reaching implications.
It's not just about whether, he'll be found innocent and if guilty, jail time, fine. Because if anyone, but in this case, Lee Jae-myung, is found guilty of having broken election law, 공직선거법, and is sentenced to a fine of 1 million won or above, he loses his office as a lawmaker.
Yes.
And it also bans him, and this might be more important or equally, running for office for the next 5 years. So that means he is right now the presumable candidate for the Democratic Party for the 2027 presidential election. That falls in that 5-year spectrum. And also, the Democratic Party, this might be minor for them, but they will have to pay back the 43.4 billion won they received from the National Election Commission as funding for elections.
Yes.
And guilty verdict, of course, means that, and by the way, excuse me, let's move on to a non-guilty verdict. If it does come down to that, it means that he gets rid of one bump in his whole judicial risk issues. But this isn't going to be broadcast live, so you'll have to look at print media for immediate updates. And the court is paying extra attention to security given how high profile this is.
Yes.
Now let's look at the other cases. The perjury conspiracy case, 위증 교사, will be concluded and the verdict handed out this month, November 25th.
Sure.
But the other two, the larger cases, the land development cases themselves involving Daejangdong and Wire, they're actually so complicated. Experts say that it may actually take years to just reach the first verdict.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So that's what's going on. At least this afternoon,
Right.
We'll get the first one. All right. Now, the stock market has been all over the place ever since Donald Trump has officially been re-elected to the president of the United States. And the U.S. market has been rallying for over a week, while South Korea, on the flip side, has seen some of its worst figures in in a year?
Right. So if you have stocks, both U.S. and Korea, and if you go to your app, it's probably like the Korean stocks are blue as the ocean or the bruised, finances you're facing, and the U.S. stocks very red. So the Korea Exchange said that Samsung Electronics, we're going to look at one company,
Yes.
Samsung, because it is well, number one, the top company in the country and very symbolic.
Yes.
According to the Korea Exchange, Samsung Electronics ended the day yesterday at 49,900 won. So we are looking at colloquially 4만 전자. This is the first time in over 4 years that Samsung Electronics fell under a 50,000 won mark.
Sure.
The market value, therefore, for the company, it dropped down to below 300 trillion won. Let's compare that to just July, where it was valued at 524 trillion won.
Wow.
Foreign investors have been selling off their Samsung Electronics stocks in large amounts, recording a 45th straight day yesterday of net sales. So Samsung, it is symbolic in the country's stock market, not just because of its size, but how many people invested in it. So small-scale investors, what we call Kemi, the ants, day traders, we have 4 million small shareholders. And by the way, that recent drop will cause massive financial losses for them because on average, Samsung Electronics shareholders bought their shares at 70,000 won, at 7만 won. That's been dropped to 49,000 won. But by the way, experts, and I'm not giving you any tips on investment, just relaying what some experts are saying. They are seeing this as a low point with possibilities of recovery.
Yes. So, we don't give advice. We're just going to leave it there. But why is Samsung Electronics being hit so hard by this election with Donald Trump re-entering the Oval Office?
On the surface, how are those two related?
Yes.
Well, it's America first, the trade protectionism, especially in the semiconductor, 반도체 industry.
Okay.
Because Trump has said this about another non-American chip maker, Taiwan's TSMC. TSMC, stole 95% of our American business. And reports say that the U.S. government apparently told TSMC to stop providing high-tech chips to China. So this has brought down overall investment. This has dampened investment demand for the semiconductor-related stocks.
I see.
And then there are concerns over Samsung Electronics specifically because some investors see that their competitiveness has declined in the sector and the foundry sectors as well, and they call for reform or at least improvements in its leadership.
So that's what's going on there. And now we're going to go to our final story, a very we'll say famous, some people might say infamous, well-known person, Elon Musk, who has been dubbed the now efficiency czar, literally, of the new Trump administration. But actually, just a few years ago, if we look back, Elon Musk had actually kind of left-leaning tendencies. So do we know what kind of shifted his politics the other way?
Right, because Elon Musk is not only now a giant in business, he is going to play a significant role in the biggest country, in the government of the richest country in the world.
Yes.
So let's look at this. It's interesting no matter what your personal views on Elon Musk may be, because just until a few years ago, his whole thing was that he was going to save humanity.
Right.
He is still a visionary, but then in terms of his politics, he did say that he voted for Biden in 2020. This is when Biden ran against Donald Trump. And he supported Obama as early as 2007, Barack Obama, that is. So, and back then is also 2004. Let's rewind back 20 years. This is when Elon Musk began investing in Tesla. He didn't found the company, but he did invest in it.
Okay.
And eventually became CEO, as we know, of course. He openly and extensively spoke about the risk of climate change. And this is why kind of he launched his aerospace company, SpaceX, for this larger goal of taking people to Mars because Earth may just not be inhabitable.
There. Yeah.
Right, or be there, exactly. And then the year is 2020. This is when we see that sharp right turn. Number one, the pandemic.
Yes.
Because his company, Tesla, was located in California, but California imposed heavy social distancing and work from home, stay-at-home orders. People couldn't go to the office. Musk hated that. This impacted his Tesla plant, so much so that he moved the factory out of state.
Right, literally. Did he
moved
move to Texas, right?
I believe so,
Yes.
right. Also, during the pandemic, linked to this maybe, he continued to make false statements about COVID on Twitter, and Twitter banned him. He got mad and long story, very simplified.
Yes.
And he bought Twitter.
Yes.
And changed the name to X. Right.
And also, there was some personal stuff going on in his life.
And this was made very public, so I will
Yes.
speak on what has been made public because
Okay.
his then son, now daughter Vivian, came out as transgender, and this is right around that time, changed her name, and she said, quote, she no longer wants to be related to her biological father, Musk. And he himself said that his daughter's decision is a major reason for his political shift. And this is his direct quote, "The woke mind virus killed my son."
Okay.
Yeah. And then, by the way, in the final bit, the Biden administration put the final nail in the coffin. They didn't invite him to an event. They snubbed him from the EV summit in 2021. So this isn't just like a party. The EV summit, Tesla wasn't invited.
That's a little odd.
That's a little odd. But
Yeah.
some people say because the United Auto Workers Union was there. Of course, the Democratic Party always courts union votes, and Musk is famously anti-union.
Yes.
So all of this combined, perfect storm to the Musk, the government efficiency czar.
Well, we'll see how that goes. That's coming up after Trump is inaugurated in January.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Thanks for going over all the news. We'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
All right. And now it is time for us to take a little song break. We need one. So how about this one, 2002 by Anne Marie.
I will always remember the day you kissed my lips, light as a feather. And it went just like this. No, it's never been better than the summer of 2002. We were only 11, but acting like grown-ups, like we are in the present. Drinking from plastic cups, singing love is forever and never. Well, I guess that was true. Dancing on the hood in the middle of the woods of an old Mustang, where we sang songs with all our childhood friends. And it went like this, say, oops, I got 99 problems singing bye, bye, bye. Hold up, if you wanna go and take a ride with me, better hit me, baby, one more time. Paint a picture for you and me on the days when we were young, singing at the top of both our lungs. like this, say, oops, I got 99 problems singing bye, bye, bye. Hold up, if you wanna go and take a ride with me, better hit me, baby, one more time. Paint a picture for you and me on the days when we were young. Singing off the top of both our lungs on the day we fell in love. On the day we fell in love. Dancing on a hood in the middle of the woods of an old Mustang, where we sang songs with all our childhood friends. Oh, now, oops, I got 99 problems singing bye, bye, bye. Hold up, if you wanna go and take a ride with me, better hit me, baby, one more time. Paint a picture for you and me on the days when we were young. Singing at the top of both our lungs on the day we fell in love. 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 Love, love.
Welcome back, everybody. It's now 7:39. Ooh, we are behind. So our topic today is about social inequality and whether education will be the great equalizer. An important issue right now, as we have just been talking about the 수능, the CSATs. Short answer, it should be, at least in theory. But, because of private education, 사교육, it's, I think, unable to do its role. I'm talking about the whole, I don't want to call it real education, but school education, to do its role in easing these inequalities. And we as a country keep breaking the record for money spent on private education. So that came to 27.1 trillion won. 27.1 trillion won last year, $19 billion. And that is the third time we have broken the record. And some might think, what's $19 billion? We're a population of 51 million people. That's a lot of money. And the top issue is this medical school craze, 의대 열풍. Experts point to this over-competition, this heated competition for med schools as a main driver of private education. And there seems to be this vicious cycle of limitations of public education and driving demand for this, private education, tutoring, etc. So this is, yes, in theory, schools are supposed to be this ladder for students, to climb on their own. But is it really? I don't know. Anyhow, that is our theme for today. Text topic, if something happened to you, who would you call? And vice versa, if something happened to somebody else, who would they call? Are you the go-to person? Leslie says everybody calls her, and I would probably call her too if she were here. We would definitely, I would count on her. She just is so knowledgeable. So yeah. And a lot of people are saying they would call their mom, right? But I will read more of your messages specifically in just a little bit, but we have to get to Kat's pick for today. Okay, this story may be controversial. I want to get your opinion on this, waivers. A Georgia woman was arrested late last month after her 10-year-old walked into town alone. So let's listen to the clip from NBC News.
Mother of four, shocked to be arrested in front of her children.
It was anger and frustration, of course, because my children were having to witness that.
All because her then 10-year-old son was spotted walking alone in Mineral Bluff, Georgia, a town with a population of about 370.
It's really not even a town, hardly. It's not a super dangerous or even dangerous at all stretch of road.
Brittany Patterson lives less than a mile from town with her father and children. On October 30th of this year, she had to take her eldest son to a medical appointment. Her youngest son, Soren, didn't want to come, she said, so she left him at home. Then she received a call from a police officer.
So when you got that phone call from the police officer saying, hey, do you know your kid is in town? What did you think?
I said no. I didn't know he was in town. I was not expecting them to say that, but I wasn't terrified for him or or scared for his safety.
The police officer drove Soren home, she says, and made it clear it was problematic. Brittany didn't know where Soren was. At that point, Brittany thought the ordeal was over until officers showed up that evening to arrest her.
They asked me to put my hands behind my back and all that stuff, and I realized what was going on.
Brittany was taken to county jail, booked, and then released on $500 bail. She's now facing a misdemeanor charge of reckless conduct. The arrest warrant saying she, quote, knowingly did endanger the bodily safety of her juvenile son. If found guilty, she could face up to 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine. The DA's office didn't provide us with a comment. Local police declined to issue a statement, and we did not hear back from Child Services. Prosecutors asking Brittany to sign a safety plan before they'd consider dropping the charges, according to her lawyer.
We want to witness you downloading the app, GPS app to your son's phone. Okay. And then you've got to check on where he is. Really? And he's got to let you or grandma know where he is at all times.
But Brittany and her attorney are unwilling to accept this deal.
This is not right. I did nothing wrong. And I'm going to fight for that.
The story is striking a nerve as technology inundates our lives, giving parents more control over their children. So how much freedom should kids still get?
Like, are all parents going to have to put GPS on their child?
So, of course, I can't give you every little detail of this story, but just overall, what do you think about this? This 10-year-old who was left at home because the mom had to take the older sibling to a doctor's appointment, and he walked into town. She was arrested in front of her kids, though. Is that overkill? You tell me. This was Cat's Pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for us to check in with Casey for Foreign Press Highlights. Good morning.
Good morning, Catherine.
How are you?
Good. I'm perplexed. Is that the word I'm looking for? I have children, and we were talking about it while we were listening to that clip.
Like the age cutoff, because in Georgia, by the way, I looked it up to the age of 8, you're never supposed to leave your kids alone. And the kids that are slightly older, up to the age of 12, supposedly the parents, they have leeway in deciding if your child is mature enough. So I guess the police thought maybe he was not mature enough.
How do they assess that? They
I
got
don't
a
know.
maturity test? Here, son, breathe into this device.
That's why. So that's why I brought it up, the clip. So I thought it was an interesting story.
Wow.
I know in Korea, it's completely different. By the way, I do need to squeeze this in. Here in Korea, we looked it up, and as of broadcast time, the information we found is there is no specific age where it stipulates like, oh, you can leave them alone or you can't.
No.
We couldn't find it. I mean, Haley and I, we searched the internet, we scoured the internet trying to find the relevant law. So, and here in Korea, I know the culture is very different.
Sure.
Lack of babysitters, etc.
And you often do see like young kids, like surprisingly young kids walking by themselves.
That's true.
Maybe going on the way to school or wherever they're heading. So,
so very interesting, but we want to get into Foreign Press Highlights. What do you have for us?
It's kind of related to children. Yeah, it is related to children. Do you remember what the 4B thing stands for?
4B?
Yes.
No.
Ring a bell? Okay. Actually, I didn't remember it either, but 4B is shorthand for these 4 Korean words.
Okay. Yeah, let's get into them.
비혼, 비출산, 비연애, and 비섹스. So I tried to say that cool. That's how they spell it.
Okay.
This comes from CNN.
Yes.
And the headline is, after Trump's win, some women are considering the 4B movement. And 4B basically translates to, in English, no marriage, no childbirth, no dating, no sex with men. And this movement actually became popular-ish around 2015, 2016 here, mostly among young women in their 20s. And that was in response to what they felt was stark gender inequality at the time. And basically because of the election outcome, they say, according to CNN, in the hours and days since it became clear that Donald Trump would be reelected president of the U.S., there's been a surge of interest in the United States for 4B. Young liberal women across the Talk and the Insta are discussing and sharing info about the South Korean feminist movement, in which straight women refuse to marry, have children, date, or have sex with men.
I don't know. Do we call it? Is that, I don't know. Is there a huge movement?
Well, okay, it's not huge, and they kind of point that out.
Okay.
But there's sudden interest.
There is sudden. Okay,
and
that
enough
I
interest to be
understand.
noticeable. And they say the women that are interested are basically enraged and fed up after a majority of their male counterparts voted for a candidate who was found liable for sexual abuse, and who appointed 3 conservative Supreme Court justices, which led to the overturning of national abortion right protections.
Okay.
According to one woman in the article, 36-year-old Ashley Pollard of St. Louis, she says, "We've pandered and begged for men's safety and done all the things that we were supposed to do, and they still hate us. So if you're going to hate us, then we're going to do what we want."
Yes. So is she kind of avoiding men completely? Is that her take? Or
Well, she says she actually learned about the 4B movement a few years ago, and that inspired her to examine what a life looks like without centering men so deeply. So since 2022, she hasn't dated or been with men and has realized that she's been better off on her own. She says she's got the resources to support herself without marriage.
Okay.
She plans to have a child alone. And she says her decision to kind of remove herself or disengage from men wasn't necessarily an act of vengeance. Instead, it was about putting herself first. And she says now that other women around the United States have taken an interest in 4B, she says she wants them to realize that they have other options.
Interesting. And by the way, we're talking about this particular story. Casey and I are not saying we agree with her, nor are we saying we're like,
I'm not a woman. It's their choice.
And not
It's
just
my
that,
choice.
I am not anti-men either. So I don't want people to think that. Okay,
Right. This is just,
This is a
from CNN.
story about Korea from, an international perspective, at least one outlet, right?
That's right. Well, it's been reported in a few, but
Yes,
I
yes.
decided to go with the CNN
Okay.
story about it.
Sure. So what if you're already in a relationship? Does that mean you need to break things off? Or I don't know how it goes. I'm sincerely asking.
Yeah, no. So, like you say, it's not a huge movement. So
Right.
people are interpreting it in various ways, and people who are already married, women who are already married or have a partner, they're kind of reacting to the election results in their own way. They say they plan to protest in other ways, such as boycotting male-owned businesses or refusing to do emotional labor for men. And I was like, emotional labor. So I had to look that up. Are you familiar with the term?
Emotional labor. Well, why don't you tell us what you found?
Okay, because I had no idea what that meant. So basically that means, according to a psychological definition, it means the work that's involved in managing your own emotions
Yes.
and expressions when you interact with others. And I was like, I kind of understand with children. If you have children, you have to manage your emotions very well, or
Yes.
try to.
You got to
when
watch your
interact with
mouth. You got to watch your emotions.
And it's hard.
And your actions too, because
Right.
they are watching everything.
Right.
And listening to everything.
And that
so.
puts a lot of pressure on you.
Yes.
Right, so you have to kind of be careful what you say, what you do. And
You should, in
That
theory.
is hard work, actually.
Yes, it is. So, question is this.
Yeah.
Is this just a trend or is this a real movement?
Well, according to, they talked to Professor Judy Han, who's an assistant professor at gender studies at the University of California, Los Angeles. She thinks this is unlikely to become mainstream in the U.S. She says one reason is that it relies too heavily on the gender binary, which also was a reason that 4B kind of faded here in South Korea, she says, because there's a lot of people who will be affected by the election in the United States who aren't necessarily straight women. And so she says this is probably going to subside quickly. And she also says that, a lot of the women that are inspired by 4B are overlooking the fact that plenty of women voted for Trump too.
Yes.
So that's another big
true.
point.
So we can't just pigeonhole or generalize and say, white men voted for Trump because it's simply not true.
Right, a lot of people voted for Trump.
Right, a lot of people across the board. And if
Right.
you compare the numbers from this election to, the last time he ran,
Right.
Across the board, the popularity, the people that voted for him, if you look at the demographics, they actually increased across the board. So
Right, and not just
we're
the
not
last
saying that,
election
yes.
compared to the first election with Hillary Clinton as well. It's,
Yes.
So he got a lot more voters this time.
Yeah. So very interesting, this story, though. But, quickly, we're going to squeeze in the next story.
Okay, I tell you what, I just want to mention this story because I was appalled.
Okay.
So this is from
Why?
NBC News. An American live streamer has been indicted in South Korea over offensive antics. Are you familiar with this story?
Are we talking about Johnny Somali?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Sorry.
So this is a perfect example of somebody if you have a daughter, advise who they date wisely.
If you have a son, like advise, behave and,
if your son
friends,
says,
choose
I
wisely.
want to be an influencer, perhaps examine what that means. Johnny Somali is a 24-year-old influencer from the U.S. who basically he's become famous for going to countries and insulting people while he's there.
But it's not just Korea. He goes to all over. And
now he's getting in trouble for it.
In the beginning, people were kind of like incensed, really angry here in Korea because he was doing what people thought were obscene things and like inappropriate gestures and doing lots of bad things.
Can I give you one example of inappropriate?
Yes.
He went to the Statue of Peace in Seoul, which is also known as the Comfort Woman statue, kissed it, took a picture of himself kissing it, and then purposely showed it to people to get the reaction.
No, she was like grinding on the statue.
So they were being nice when they talk about it in NBC News. But
right.
He says he had no idea about the meaning of the statue. But come on. You have completely zero awareness. Then why are you doing something so provocative?
I mean,
do you believe that he didn't know at all?
No.
Well, now he's in trouble, so perhaps he's trying to backpedal.
So what can happen to him real quick? I mean...
well, he's banned from leaving the country.
Oh,
he's not currently being detained, but he's going to face trial. So we'll see what that means. And the one he's getting in trouble for is disturbing a convenience store, apparently.
Yes, because the statue thing, as terrible as we may think it is,
right?
He did things in the convenience store, like obstruction of business, I believe.
Okay,
etc.
Making a nuisance, causing a commotion, right?
Yes.
So yes, don't emulate this kind of behavior.
No. But I do want to do a follow-up because I want to see what happens. If he gets sentenced or not, right?
Yeah, this will be, I'm sure we'll hear about this in the news.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Casey. We'll check in with you next week.
Have a great weekend.
Everybody, let's get to our final song for the first hour. This is Sweet But Psycho. And I chose a song, by the way, or my producer did, before the story. I knew of the story. And this is by Ava Max.
Oh, she's sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind. Oh, she's hot but a psycho, so left but she's right though. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind. She'll make you curse, but she a blessing. She'll rip your shirt within a second. You'll be coming back for second with your play. You just can't help it. No, you'll play along. Let her lead you on. You'll be saying no, then saying yes, 'cause you're messing with your head. Oh, she's sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind. Oh, she's hot but a psycho, so left but she's right though. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind. Grab a gun, kinda crazy. She's poison but tasty. Yeah, people say run, don't walk away. Yeah, she's sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind. See, someone said, don't drink her potion.
Your Bridge to the World.
특히 어린이 보호구역 안전 기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
We are
The firefighter duo.
Winter is so dry. Let's prevent fire by keeping these 3 rules. If you take caution, you can prevent a fire.
The number one cause of fire in winter are electric blankets. Take special caution with highly flammable materials such as memory foam, toppers, and bedding.
Number 2, having too many appliances on the power outlet is dangerous. Always unplug all the appliances that you're not currently using.
Number 3, check the heater is off before leaving the house. Leaving it on for an extended period of time can cause a fire.
Let's all take part in preventing fire and have warm and safe winter this year.
Tune into BeFM Busan영어방송 for an emergency broadcast.
This campaign is brought to you by BeFM 부산영어방송.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It's time for news highlights. It is now 8 o'clock. Court issues arrest warrants for pollster Myung Tae-gyun and ex-lawmaker Kim Young-sun. Changwon District Court issued an arrest warrant or warrants for self-proclaimed power broker Myung Tae-gyun and former lawmaker Kim Young-sun at the center of an influence peddling scandal linked to President Yoon Suk-yeol and First Lady Kim Gun-hee. The court cited risks of attempts to destroy evidence for Myung and Kim while turning down the request for 2 local politicians accused of giving money to Myung in exchange for 2022 local election nominations. Myung is suspected of receiving approximately 76 million won from the former lawmaker and allegedly winning the nomination for Kim in exchange for conducting customized polls in favor of then presidential candidate Yoon for free. Yoon departs for Peru to attend APEC summit. President Yoon Suk-yeol departed for Peru yesterday to attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC summit, then head to Brazil on Sunday local time for the Group of 20 or G20 summit for the next 2 days. Yoon will hold a summit with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba on the sidelines of the APEC summit and try to meet with U.S. President-elect Donald Trump during the South America trip. He plans to use the diplomatic stage to pledge South Korea's active role in global issues and call for international unity against military cooperation between North Korea and Russia, according to the presidential office. Lee Jae-myung's wife fined for election law violations. A regional court yesterday fined Kim Hae-kyung, wife of Democratic Party or DP leader Lee Jae-myung, 1.5 million won for providing free meals during her husband's run in the party primary, to select the candidate for the 2022 presidential election. Kim's lawyer said that she would appeal the ruling, calling it a guilty conviction based on assumption. If finalized, Kim would be restricted from participating in election campaigns for 5 years under the Public Official Election Act that bans such activities for people who have been fined 1 million won or more. This would restrict her campaigning for her husband should he run in the next presidential election. Opposition unilaterally passes revised bill targeting First Lady. The main opposition, Democratic Party DP, unilaterally yesterday passed a contentious bill calling for a special investigation into allegations involving First Lady Kim Gun-hee, despite fierce opposition from the ruling party. The revised special counsel probe bill, which passed in a 191-0 vote, focused on her alleged involvement in a stock manipulation scheme and interference in election nominations through a power broker. The ruling People Power Party will request the president to veto the bill, but it did decide to push ahead with the recommendation of a special inspector to look into possible corruption among the president's family members. Son Heung-min scores as Team Korea beats Kuwait 3-1. Captain Son Heung-min marked his international return with a goal as South Korea defeated Kuwait 3-1 for their fourth consecutive victory in the ongoing World Cup qualification round in Kuwait City on Thursday local time. Forward Oh Se-hoon opened the scoring with a 10th minute header. Sun's replacement in the second half, Bae Jun-ho, scored the third goal and making it 3-1 in the 74th minute after Kuwait had cut into the South Korean lead at the hour mark. South Korea improved to 13 points with 4 wins and a draw as it continued to lead Group B at the halfway point of the third round. Team Korea will play Palestine next Tuesday in Amman as a neutral venue. And this was News Highlights. Listeners, everybody, Haley is back for Wagger Wagger. It's that time.
Hello again.
All right, so our first story that we're going to dive into this Friday morning is about a mom who gave birth in Guam and then died unattended at a resort. This is making headlines. So we're talking about a South Korean national, right?
We are talking about a South Korean national.
Okay.
This is an NBC exclusive story. A horrible thing has happened.
Right.
So South Korean woman went to Guam to give birth. This is what in Korea we call 원정 출산. And we'll get to the reasons in a bit.
Okay.
But a summary, she had a C-section. She suffered complications, but she died alone at a resort, not a hospital. This happened in July, but the story is surfacing now. So she was found dead in a beachside, apparently luxury resort, just 12 days after giving birth at a local hospital in Guam. She apparently used a company in Korea that acts as a broker for moms who want to give birth on U.S. soil, which would give their child U.S. citizenship, which is quite, well, not often, but it sometimes does happen. I have heard of these cases, right?
Yes. So once again, to reiterate, she didn't have anyone with her, I guess, like after the birth or during.
Well, she apparently did, which is why it's kind of a problem. So the husband, he did stay with her during the birth, but he had to go back to Korea for his job, and also because they used a company that provided like after postpartum care doula services, 산후조리사. And, they promised them that a doula would be with her, with the mom, 24 hours around the clock. But the mom apparently sent her husband a text message that I don't feel well. So he called the doula and the local staff too, asking them to take her to the hospital, please, immediately. However, the next morning, she was found dead. So she was not taken to the hospital because she was found in her room. Turns out, she had been left alone in her room for about 20 hours.
Oh, no.
So much for that 24-hour care service.
Do we know the cause of death?
So cause of death has been ruled as pulmonary embolism, which is 폐색전증, and thrombosis, 혈전증. Apparently, both are common complications after C-sections. So what happens in Korea, and by the way, this is anecdotal evidence, I do have friends that have had fairly healthy pregnancies, but gave birth via C-section.
Right.
They're still kept at the hospital for a week for observations because after any surgery, no matter how routine, complications can happen.
Yes.
However, it turns out this woman charged the day after her C-section. Discharged the day after her C-section.
That's pretty, really soon, even
That's so
according
soon.
to American standards.
Even in the U.S.,
Yes.
right. So the local company that was supposed to take care of her said that they don't have responsibility because they say this is, basically it's a pre-existing condition, that it's her personal health issues. I'm like, your whole thing is that you guys provide health care.
And plus the husband supposedly, asked
to
check
rush her to the hospital. Right. So their argument is that they're not liable for pre-existing conditions.
Right.
The husband said that the family's plan was that they will actually immigrate to Guam after the child was born, but now that he regrets everything that's happened.
Oh my gosh, what a tragic case. All right, next we're going to talk about this one. We have a couple of kind of robbery or theft cases that may speak volumes about the state of things right now.
Right. So these are fairly minor in that no one was hurt. There was really no property damage. But the reason why these people allegedly committed these crimes.
Yes.
So first, this happened in Busan recently. A man in his 30s arrested for attempting to rob a convenience store.
Oh.
It was, excuse me, it's a little dry here. It was an act of armed robbery, but the weapon was a sickle.
What? A sickle?
The
the thing that... I'm just saying, for people...
What Grim Reapers carry, but with the shorter handles.
Yes,
it's a farming equipment to cut crops.
Because in Korea, by the way, for Korean listeners, the guns are not prevalent in Korea.
Guns,
yes,
really, not really.
Okay,
for the
so
general
sickle.
public.
Okay.
And then, so he took it out, and then when the clerk called the police, he didn't run. He just stayed and was very cooperative. When the police got there, he just let go of the sickle and stuck his hand out to be arrested.
Really?
Right, and you might wonder why.
Yes.
The economy. He lost his job, and he's fairly young in his 30s, so he had been homeless and apparently said he committed the robbery to go to jail so he could have a roof over his head and 3 meals a day.
Wow.
Right. So the police, in cruel irony, they passed the case on to the prosecution without detention. So, this type of robbery, because he didn't technically steal anything.
And
he did threaten someone, but no one was hurt.
Right.
So it wouldn't conventionally warrant detention.
And assuming that was his first attempted crime.
Yeah. And so... Yeah.
But that says a lot.
It really says a lot. In another case, and this happened in Busan, a different man in his 60s, also homeless, had been apprehended for breaking and entering and theft. This happened in Deokjeon-dong, allegedly jumped the fence of a private home, went into the home, but what he stole was kimchi. Out of the refrigerator. But the neighbors noticed something because that home was supposed to be empty, that their neighbors were at work, and called the police. And the reason was that he was hungry and he was trying to look for food.
And the thing is, we don't want to excuse crimes.
We don't condone this, but
it's still sad though.
We can be sympathetic to people who are perhaps driven or feel that they have no choice.
Right. But nonetheless, crime is a crime.
Yeah.
All right, for our final story, we're going to go back to 수능. We're through the official stories about it, last hour number 1. So let's go through all the Wagga-worthy stories this time around. What do you have for us? I'm so curious.
Oh my God. In line with our text topic,
okay.
If you, not an accident, but if you, I don't know, make a boo-boo, if you mess up, if you, minorly 사고쳐, who do you call? Well, this girl, a test taker, called her sister. And I'm like, Hannah? And I'm like, 동생. So this one 27-year-old 언니, older sister, 성재희, she got a call early morning from her younger sister who's at the 수능 site.
Oh my gosh.
She says, 언니, I left my 수험표, my test ticket at home. You need that test ticket to take the test.
You can't take it technically without it. They're not going to let you.
It's basically, I mean, you need your ID, but you also need that test ticket.
Yes.
So the older sister ran out, and in the photo, I will describe it to you. She is wearing a baseball cap. Her face is blurred out. She's in like a sweatsuit, slippers, and barefoot. Yeah. And by the way,
that's a true older sister.
That's an 언니. There are police cars to run emergency errands and deliver people, and she took a police car
to get to the test site. Did she get there on time?
She did.
Thank goodness.
8:10.
8:10?
8:10. The type A, if you're not 15 minutes early, your lay person in me died a little bit in the story. And then the older sister said, when asked about it to the reporter, she's like, I hope she does well, but 정말 왜 저럴까? was her direct quote. Why is she like this? Why does she do this? So I'm like, younger sister, you owe your older sister for life.
Yes.
And I mean, if you do notice, and by the way, if this ever happens, there are like classrooms within test sites where you can go to get like a temporary test ticket reissued.
You can? Okay.
But just, she's so her person that the little sister, instead of asking the proctor, oh my God, what do I do? The first instinct is grab your phone and call your 언니. Is just, so they're sisters. They're completely sisters.
Yes, and you have some other stories I hear. Heartwarming ones, hopefully.
I do. The ones that won't make you want to hit the back of someone's head.
Okay.
A retaker, and this breaks my heart, 19 years old, was diagnosed with cancer 2 days before the exam. Oh my God, and that breaks your heart. So she...
I thought you said it was a heartwarming story.
Okay, but
are we getting there?
People come to her aid. She kept coughing. She had a cough. She went to her neighborhood clinic. The neighborhood clinic told her, the thing that we never want to hear, you should go to a larger hospital. 큰 병원 가세요. She did. They found a tumor between her lungs. She was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, Hodgkin 림프종. So the thing is, she wants to pursue foreign languages. And this is why she took that extra year to study. She was very much set on taking the exam. But she was just diagnosed with cancer. And because of the infection risks, she was only allowed out of the hospital for a 24-hour leave, which is not enough time for her to go to her home in Gyeongnam for the orientation and the exam. So this is when people do nice things. People came through. People
the heartwarming
I like to believe people are inherently good. Proof. The hospital created a test room. And by the way, this isn't just like, you can use room 101, because there are criteria set by the education ministry, and they have to get it approved. So they use a VIP ward, and this is a VIP ward because it has a break room and a conference room.
Okay.
And so they gave her that. The doctors also arranged her treatment schedule, so her chemotherapy would start, basically today, immediately after the test. So the staff and the doctors, everyone said that they're really impressed by her. They're all rooting for her. She chose to take the exam despite this hardship. And her mother also profusely thanked the hospital. As for our test taker herself, her hope is to go to a university festival. And I hope she will. I really hope she will.
It's so sad, but heartwarming at the same time. And we have news regarding this year's oldest test taker, so let's have it.
We do. 84-year-old woman, Ms. Im Tae-soo.
Wow.
She is one of the 20,000 people with a GED who took the exam yesterday. Ms. Im had to quit school in middle school because her father was sick. So she became a caregiver for her father plus the breadwinner for her family.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
And then she got married. She had children.
Yes.
Her children had children. She took care of her grandchildren. Sent them to college. They all went to university. And then, you know what? It's her turn.
It is her turn. It should have been her turn many years ago.
I know. Seriously.
Yes.
She went back to Ilsung Women's Middle and High School, which is kind of it specializes in the elder coming back to school.
Yes.
She says her personality is just going for it, and she signed up for school without telling her family. But they're very supportive.
Okay.
She's just like, I did it. By the way, I'm going to school starting tomorrow.
Okay.
She said that, although her memory, it did decline with her age, she is 83, her trick, just repeat things and keep going at it.
Yes, yes.
By the way, she already has received her acceptance letters. Sushi early acceptance to Baeksuk Art School, the Silver Care Business School. And her motto that she always tells her granddaughters and everyone else, don't try to be the best. Just do your best. 최고가 되려고 하지 말고 최선을 다해라. Yeah, wow.
What a great note to end it on today for Waggle Waggle. Well, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, of course, and we'll check in with you on Monday. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great weekend.
Such a heartwarming one to end it on, and I'm always happy when we do end it on a happy note. So anyhow, here is your updated traffic and weather. It is now time for your traffic update. There's an accident on 중앙대로 from Daeseong intersection to Kyudae intersection. This is a two-car collision right by the Kyudae intersection right there. It's also looking slow on Mandokdaero from the Mandok intersection to the entrance of the expressway. Also congestion on 중앙대로 from Yangjong intersection to Songgong three-way intersection as well. It's currently 14 degrees Celsius with some light rain coming down in parts of the city. It's going to be cloudy pretty much throughout the day with a daytime high expected of 20 degrees. Looking ahead to tomorrow, pretty similar to today, if not maybe slightly warmer. However, on Sunday, it will be slightly cooler. The sun is due to come out. Daytime low of 13, a high of 18. And this was your traffic and weather. This is Unstoppable by Sia.
I'll smile, I know what it takes to fool this town. I'll do it till the sun goes down and all through the night time. Oh yeah, I'll tell you what you wanna hear. Keep my sunglasses on while I shed a tear. It's never the right time. Yeah. Your feeling sure is the only way to make friendships grow, but I'm too afraid now. Yeah. I put my arm around, show you how strong I am. I put my arm around, I'll show you that I am. I'm unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. I'm invincible. Yeah, I win every single
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to get to our text topic before we get into our special interview. Today, I asked you about who is your go-to person if there's an emergency, if you get in an accident or something happens to you. Well, who do you turn to? Who do you call first is the big question. So Drift Monkey says, my boy Aaron is the first call. It's the first I call. Same for him. We don't talk every day, nor would I say we are best friends, but he definitely has my back, as do I for him. So it goes both ways for you. Well, I'm glad that you have that kind of person. For me, yes, it's my roommate, but of course, my sister as well. I mention those two people all the time. So kind of depends on what it is. If it's like a car accident, though, I think I would call my sister first because she's much more fluent in Korean and she can help me more so than my roommate. So, but everything else, yes, he is, of course, my go-to guy. And so for now, though, we are going to get to our special interview. So I'll be back in just a moment. Everybody, for a special interview, we are talking today about Australia's social media ban for youth, because apparently recently there was or is a new law that's been proposed to ban children under the age of 16 from using social media, and this is even with parental permission. So the Australian government urges that this step is necessary to protect young people from the physical and mental health risks linked to social media. And so under this proposed law, I believe social media companies would face substantial fines if they fail to block underage users. So what a fascinating idea. Let's get the lowdown. We have invited to the airwaves Professor Tama Lever, who's a professor of internet studies at Curtin University. So let's get his take on everything that is happening. Hi, welcome to our program.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Yes. So first of all, Professor, if you can tell us, why has Australia decided to, make this new law to ban social media for children under the age of 16? What has the issues, the problems, can we address that first and then maybe get into why this law was proposed and passed in the first place?
Sure. So I think it's fair to say that, like many countries around the world, there's a fair amount of parental anxiety, parental concern about what young people are doing on social media. There is this myth that parents are unable to keep up with what their kids are doing. And I think those first few years of authorized social media use, when kids turn 13 and over, is seen as a time where parents really feel like they're losing the ability to understand what young people are doing. There is also a real perceived challenge around the fact that parents see all ills perhaps being linked to social media in one way or another, whether fairly or not. And that's been massively stoked by a number of, especially American academics who've published a couple of books, especially Jonathan Haidt wrote a book called The Anxious Generation that really links what he calls a crisis in youth anxiety with the rise of social media. So all of these things have sort of come together, and our politicians want to be seen to be trying to address and fix this problem. There's an election coming up, and so that's been the crux of how this particular legislation has come together.
And now I do want to address the issue about whether you think personally this law actually does what it is proposing to help protect young people from the health risks of social media. Do you think that this is going to be effective?
No, I think there's absolutely no way that this proposed legislation can achieve what it wants to achieve. I think it's important that we are having conversations about the best ways that young people should be using social media and what the boundaries to that should be. But I think there's absolutely no way that this law can actually protect young people in any meaningful way. What's most likely to happen is if we prevent young people using the mainstream platforms that they're on now,
yes,
is that they will end up going to other platforms, less mainstream, the darker platforms, less regulated platforms. They're also less likely to talk to parents and carers about challenges that they meet. At the moment, at least, the general advice is talk to your kids about what they're doing on social media. But if it's banned, and a 14 or a 15-year-old comes across something online that they shouldn't really have seen anyway because it's going against this legislation, then the odds are they're not going to talk to their parents, they're not going to talk to their supportive carers. And I think in that context, things can spiral out of hand very, very badly. So I think with those things on the table, it's hard to see how this could actually achieve its aims. It's also the case that, most young people tend to find their ways around digital barriers pretty quickly. The idea that most young Australians won't know what a VPN is, I think, is optimistic at best.
Point well taken, Professor. And I was kind of surprised at this kind of caveat to the law. This part of the law where it says that even with a parent's permission, children under the age of 16 or minors cannot use social media. So I am wondering what the parents think, because I'm thinking I, as a parent, would want full autonomy over what I think is appropriate or inappropriate. And we're just, I'm a little perplexed at this part. So how are the parents reacting?
So I think that the full spectrum of reactions is available. I think for parents who do not yet have a child on social media, to some extent, this is quite reassuring. It takes the immediate responsibility off their shoulders. But I think for parents that have a sense of the opportunities that social media and being online in general bring to young people, I think they are quite perplexed, quite disappointed, because they do want to be able to make choices that they believe are going to enable their children to be better digital citizens. So I think those parents are quite confused. It's also this idea that young people who are in that space between 13 and 16 currently, who are legitimately using social media, that this legislation is supposed to boot them off. So if you're 14, you've got an Instagram account now, you in theory will somehow lose that account and not be able to come back until you're 16. That seems very difficult, both as a process, but also a very difficult thing to explain to a young person. It's like if their social and their political world is already deeply tied through social media, the idea of losing that is potentially going to do a lot more harm than good, I think. So I think those parents are quite rightly concerned.
Yes. And you did kind of touch upon this already, but social media is not necessarily an evil thing that's bad on all, accounts or in all things. And so this type of ban, might it also prevent kids or minors under the age of 16 actually glean something insightful or useful from social media? Because just banning it outright, that could also, take away other educational opportunities. Any opinions on this?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I think where we are throwing away every opportunity that being online, being on social media brings for young people through this ban. So I think it is very much the case that young people build their digital literacies. They are learning about citizenship, about politics, about the news, about innovation, as well as having fun and being able to socialize. All of those things are happening in social media spaces currently. The best approach to these areas is usually to try and maximize the opportunities and minimize the risks. But what we're doing with this legislation is simply cutting everything off. And I think losing those opportunities is likely to disenfranchise young Australians in a way that hasn't really been thought through properly by the people who put this legislation on the table.
Indeed. And what happens to these, platforms or social media companies that if they don't follow this law, what is Australian or the Australian government planning to do? Are they going to dole out huge fines?
So that's not entirely clear yet. The legislation hasn't actually been put on the table, but what the traditional response in these sort of legislations is indeed the threat of very large fines. I do think that Australia will make this as harsh a law as possible to be seen to be doing something. And the idea is that trying to push the technical question of how this is achieved back to the platforms rather than the government or someone else taking that on. It does admit in that process that really we're not quite sure how to do this properly, but making it the problem of Facebook or making it the problem of Snapchat seems to be the solution that the government's come up with.
Well, it does seem that Australia may have, I guess, some of the strictest laws in the world when it comes to trying to protect young people and also pertaining to social media. But do you think that this could also influence other countries to make similar laws or regulations? Are there other countries that have anything similar or anything along these lines?
So there are other countries, so France, for example, and some states of the United States are bringing in laws. Most of them cap out at 14, though. So the idea that this goes up to the age of 16 is, I think, unique in the world. And I think a lot of countries will be watching this. It feels like Australia has now turned itself into a giant social experiment to see what will actually happen.
Right.
That's not, from my perspective, a terribly good thing for Australian youth, but for the rest of the world, having an experiment like this, seeing what happens, whether it's technically feasible, what happens to young people's participation, and whether young people respond as poorly as we suspect they might. Those are things that the rest of the world can look at Australia and go, what does it look like if this goes wrong? Oh, okay, we might not do that.
Well, we're going to wrap up our discussion for today, but you gave us so much food for thought. I was especially the whole point about the teenagers turning to, for example, like the dark web or to darker sources. I think that's going to be a real concern for parents if they are indeed banned from using social media until after they reach the age of 16. But thank you so much for your insight and your expertise. We appreciate it today, Professor.
It's been my absolute pleasure to chat.
All right, everybody, this was our special interview. So thank you for tuning in, and we're going to take a short song break right around now. So here it is. This is Uptown Girl by Billy Joel.
As Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
All right, everybody, it is time for Vasana and What in the World?
Guten Morgen.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yes. So, text topic today.
What is the text topic?
It is all about if you have like an emergency, if you get into an accident, who is your go-to person? Who do you call?
Oh, my wife, of course.
Oh, yes, of course. Because she's going to take care of everything, right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, how about the other way? Are you her go-to person? Are you the first person she calls?
I would like to think so.
Can't confirm nor deny, but...
Can't confirm nor deny. You were talking about sooning before.
Yes.
I actually had it's not a story about yesterday. But one of my students I taught many years ago, he did not do well in sooning. And he ended up coming to my school, which was a 2-year college.
Okay.
Which obviously is a kind of like a last chance college sort of thing for...
Well, for others, they choose to go if it's a vocational.
Some choose to go,
yes.
but he didn't do very well. And so he went to the army because he didn't do well, then he came back. Anyway, I met him 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And he said he got a job at Johns Hopkins Hospital.
Really?
Exactly. And I thought, wow.
Wow. So that's a redemption arc story.
Yeah, so we just had
Love
kind of
it.
like a 5-second... so we had a 5-second just looking at each other moment, almost tears kind of thing because of... a little emotional, but amazing.
You know what you can do, Vasana? You can lower your chair if you can't lower your mic. We can raise the mic or slightly.
Let's lower. Hello.
There you go. Because the chair height was for somebody else.
Yeah.
We won't say who, but we all know.
No worries.
Okay, so because we want your lovely voice on the mic, so yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so well, what a great story.
If you can blur out my face as well, that would be great.
No. Why would we want?
I have a face for radio.
No. All right, let's get into what in the world. What do you have?
What in the world? Today's theme is food.
Food.
And the first one involves exercise before food.
Oh.
Which some people like doing. They exercise, then they eat, or they eat and then they exercise. Some people do that. So first question for you.
Yes.
How far would you cycle to eat dumplings? Like
dumplings? Mandu.
Yeah, dumplings.
How far would I cycle? Like get on a bicycle?
Yeah. Not a motorcycle.
So do I have to pedal?
You have to pedal. It's not an electric one.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Okay, so in China last week, the answer was 50 kilometers.
50 kilo for mandu?
For mandu.
Oh, yeah. I would not.
For some students or for some people who are listening who don't know how far that is.
I wouldn't even drive 50 kilometers from mandu.
That's Busan to Ulsan is 48 kilometers. So
on a bike.
On a bike.
For dumplings.
Those
must have been some amazing dumplings.
So it began with 4 university students, and it was kind of like a publicity stunt.
Oh, okay.
Began like that.
Okay. You didn't say that.
And it was dubbed the night ride to Kaifeng. But then other people heard about it. Mm-hmm. And so it grew very, very, very quickly.
Okay.
Up to the point where some people estimated between 100 and 200,000 cyclists between that road, which was clogging up the highway and all the roads. So even the people at the destination were complaining. So before they were happy with it because they were giving them free advertising.
Yes.
But now you got 200,000 students in your city.
Wow.
Eating dumplings, eating them out of dumplings.
Yes. But
so by last weekend, the authorities put a stop to it. And so
really?
There's no more night ride to go.
How far would you go for some dumplings?
For dumplings?
On a bike.
Have you, you've eaten real Chinese dumplings.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. When I was young, I'd bike probably 5 kilometers.
Oh, 5 kilometers.
Yeah, because one of my friend's mother, she made awesome dumplings. And she lived
so
5
yummy.
kilometers, so that I know the answer to that one.
And by the way, we're saying when he said real Chinese dumpling, there are Chinese dumplings and there's Korean mandu. They're different. Yes, so.
Sorry, not real. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
So real meaning like authentic Chinese versus authentic Korean mandu. Nobody get, don't get in a tizzy now, okay?
Yeah. I see Umberto's just logged on. Yeah. No comments, please.
All right.
So the article ended with a quote from Miss Lee saying, people are so stressed these days and these events are a good thing because happiness is infectious.
Love it.
Like
it is
that.
infectious.
Yes.
Yes.
So the next story, I'm going to apologize in advance for all these RJ gags.
Okay.
But the next story left a few people cheesed off, including the naked chef himself, Jamie Oliver. Okay. For some people who don't know, you can search what the naked chef Jamie Oliver is. A 63-year-old man was arrested by London authorities for stealing $389,000 worth of cheddar cheese.
That's like over 4억 won of cheese.
Yes.
Cheddar cheese.
Cheddar cheese.
That's a lot of cheese.
That's a lot of
what
cheese.
What happened?
No wonder they were cheesed off. The crime apparently cut deep with locals, as it happened in Cheddar, Somerset, which is where the cheddar cheese was originally made.
Okay.
Where it was originated.
Yes.
It was actually quite a clever plan that has featured in many heist movies, when they dress up like delivery people.
Yes.
So that's how they did it. So the cheese has not been recovered, but monetarily, you don't need to cheddar cheer for them. As the cheesemakers have paid the cheesemakers in full, or rather the cheese company has paid the cheesemakers in full.
Okay.
But the hunt for the cheese carries on.
Well, if they don't find it soon, it'll cause a stink and you'll be able to smell it somewhere.
Yes, somebody will have to cut that cheese. The cheese dealer put a request on social media saying if people are selling cheap cheese,
yes,
he said, if the deal seems too good to be true.
Oh, good.
It probably is. Yeah.
Love it. I love all the puns.
All the puns.
Right.
So that's the problem with the heist is that they actually stole the cheese that was still in the cloth.
Oh.
So that cheese still has the crust on the outside and all the cloth on it, so they have to unwrap it.
Sure.
They have to cut the cheese, which would make it smell, obviously, as you said before.
Mm-hmm.
And I doubt they would get $389,000. But yeah. People who are listening in Europe.
If that cheese was really cheap.
Yeah. Yes, it's too good to be true.
Cheddar cheese.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Next up.
Cake.
What is your favorite cake? I think we did this a few months ago, did we?
I don't know.
I'm not sure we did. What was your favorite cake?
I have I like red velvet.
Oh.
That's a good one, huh?
Oh, yum.
I don't know. I'm into this lemony thing these days. Lemon
like
cake? A really light, but not like completely sour, but just a very light, but not a meringue, not a lemon meringue, but like very fluffy, lightly, Do
you know a cake called a Madeira cake?
No, I don't.
Okay, so it's kind of like a citrusy. You put a little bit of lemon. I can make that. I used to make that. I can make that.
By the way, Leslie says the puns are so cheesy.
It's cheesy.
I love it. Yes. Oh, okay. So, what's your favorite cake?
My favorite cake is a banana cake.
Banana.
Banana for Vasana. There's no reason why. But no rhyme or reason.
Banana. Okay.
Banana cake. My birthday next week, so if you want to buy me a banana cake.
Oh, it's your birthday next week. Okay, let's forget.
Next question.
Yes.
How much would you pay for a 77-year-old slice of cake?
Ew.
Nothing? Zero?
No.
Okay. Well, it's a special kind of cake.
Of course. Whose cake is it?
A slice of cake from Queen Elizabeth II's wedding cake.
I would still not pay money for it.
You wouldn't pay money?
What am I going to do with it? I'm not going to eat it. I'm going to stare at it. For how much?
$2,800.
So that's like a little over 300만 원 for a piece of cake.
For a piece of cake.
From Queen Elizabeth II, the late Queen's wedding. No.
No?
No.
So it was still in the box that it was packaged in, because if you ever get invited to a royal wedding, everyone gets a slice of cake.
Yes.
So it was in the box bearing her silver insignia.
Okay.
And included and was a printed letter from the bride and a decorative doily, which is a kind of like decorative piece.
Yes.
And the cake has been given to a housekeeper as a gift from the royal couple, and she recently just sold it.
Okay.
$2,800.
Would anybody buy it? Any real waivers out there?
Waivers, buy it. How about your wedding cake? Do you remember your wedding cake?
Wedding cake. Oh, well, we had two.
You had two wedding cakes?
Yeah, we had two separate ceremonies.
Okay. In America and Korea.
I'm trying to remember because I was so nervous I couldn't eat. I remember cutting the cake. Yes. I don't think I tasted the cake. And I left it to like the wedding planner. I don't even remember.
I remember my one because it was so funny.
What was it?
It was a tiered cake.
Yes.
So it had 5 tiers. I thought it had 5 tiers.
5 tiers. That's a fancy wedding.
I wait for the end.
Okay.
So we got to cut the cake and we cut the top bit. And then I went to cut the next level and the guy said, no, it's plastic.
5단짜리인데 it was plastic in the middle?
Only the very small one at the top was the cake.
Only the top?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Is that a thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
Wait, you got married here in Korea?
In Korea.
Is that a thing here?
I don't know.
Because like ours at least were real.
I'm sorry.
No, that's a funny one. I like that story.
Okay.
Okay, next one.
The next story may gross some people out. And thankfully, we're not putting pictures up. So a New York restaurant has gone viral for its unusual menu offering. People are calling it delicious, but they're serving roast.
Wait, hold on. Do I need to?
You might want to cover your ears.
What
roast
is it?
Guinea pig.
Oh, no. In New York?
In New York.
Okay, the thing is, my whole thing is I don't like judging people or their culture or their food. I try to be respectful.
Yeah.
But there's a line that I sometimes draw.
Yeah.
There's a line.
So
I draw the line. I can't eat guinea pig, really?
Yeah. So I that was one of the ones where I said, what in the world? But then I researched and in South America it's actually been one of their staple on their diet for thousands of years, including the capybara. That's another one that they eat quite often down there. And if you've seen pictures of that, it's such a cute, they're both cute animals. But anyway.
But you know what?
Yes.
I have a pet rabbit named Jackson. Everybody knows, right? Our waivers. But, in parts of the world, people consume rabbit too. I'm just saying. I remember you told me and I was like angry at you, but so that's why I say I try not to judge personally on a personal level because we've had like so many like pets over the years, not exactly a guinea pig, but we've had like hamsters and rabbits and cats, and I just could not eat them because for me they're pets.
I don't want to finish on that note.
Yeah, please don't. We need a happy.
Yeah, the last story is not about eating food, but rather something they're doing with the food.
Okay.
So in Japan...
Is it gross?
It's not gross.
Okay, it's not gross.
A hot spring in Japan, a Mogyoktang in Japan, is offering an apple
An
bath.
apple.
So they put apples in the bath.
Okay.
And then you bathe with the apples.
And I've never heard of that because I've done the whole like rose petals, bubble bath, and all that.
I was asking you,
apples.
And what kind of things have you?
Right. Apples I've not tried.
So I looked up the internet for other things that people put into baths. And here were some of them. Obviously flowers.
Yes.
Milk.
Milk, yes.
Cucumbers. Ginseng.
Salt.
Oranges. Lemons. Mushrooms.
Mushrooms?
Apparently the mushrooms have some qualities in them. I don't know what kind of mushrooms. Watermelons.
Watermelons? Slow down. Watermelons. Subac in your bath?
There's a big list. Watermelons.
Okay.
They actually cut up the watermelon. It's not the whole watermelon.
And you're not supposed to eat it, I'm assuming.
You're not...
That's kind of gross.
If I were in a bath with watermelons that were cut up,
You would eat them?
I'd be tempted.
But wouldn't the bath be warm? Warm watermelon?
Warm watermelon. I don't know.
With your exfoliated skin, dead skin cells? I don't know.
No, dragon fruit. But my last and my favorite one
is what?
Wine.
Bathing in wine.
In wine.
That's kind of expensive.
I'd definitely be drinking that one.
You'd be like slurping it off yourself.
Hey, where'd all the water go?
In my belly.
In my belly.
Well, I would assume that it's not like 100% just wine. It's like a bath and then some wine, like maybe one bottle,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
But the color would be beautiful.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if you go with like a red wine.
Red wine, yeah.
That would be really, well, it might look like you're sitting in a
Yeah, you wouldn't want to
bath
put
of
white wine in
blood.
there. It might, might look like you're sitting in something else.
Oh, and urine. That is not
Yippee day.
cool. Well, what do you take baths, Vasana? No.
Yes, I do.
I'm not saying do you shower. I'm like, do you really like take a bubble bath? Are you that kind of a person? Do you put like a bath, a bomb in No, not that. The pretty little the bombs.
About twice a year at home, I would.
On special occasions.
I really hate going to 목욕탕s. I
public
just
baths.
don't like being around other
Naked people.
naked men. I do go to 가족탕.
Yes.
But now that my son's a little bit older, I'll probably just go with my wife. But
yes.
yeah, but definitely not a 찜질방, yes, because that's different. You're not really bathing. You have the option.
Sure.
But you're just sitting in a warm room, and has somebody put a funny
No, people are they're going on and on about their favorite cakes. I got to read
cakes.
So people, I'm not going to even say your names. People are mentioning tiramisu, lemon icebox cake. Oh, yeah, I'm so there for that. Somebody says, used to like carrot cake, but went back to chocolate cake.
Yep.
Ooh, and some people are saying tiramisu is popular. Tom is saying that is a reusable cake. The top part is the real one. So apparently he knows about that one.
Okay.
And then pecan pie is coming up as well. So,
especially with Thanksgiving just around the
cakes.
corner.
Yes.
Chess pie. What is a chess pie?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well,
We should have had that as a text topic.
Chess pie. We're going to call it a wrap, and we're
Okay.
going to check in with you next week. But thank you for this very lively discussion and all your AJ gags. We love them.
TGIF.
All right. Thank you, Vasana.
Have a good day.
And with that, it is time to close out this entire day and week, wishing you nothing but the best, people. So, of course, I hope you join us on Monday. Final song is Suddenly I See by KT Tunstall. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
Her face is a map of the world, is a map of the world. You can see she's a beautiful girl, she's a beautiful girl. And everything around her is a silver pool of light. People who surround her feel the benefit of it, it makes you count. She holds you captivated in her palm. Suddenly I see, this is what I wanna be. Suddenly I see, why the hell it means so much to me. Suddenly I see, this is what I wanna be. Suddenly I see, why the hell it means so much to me. And I feel like walking the world, like walking the world. And you can hear she's a beautiful girl, she's a beautiful girl. She fills up every corner like she's born in black and white. Makes you feel warmer when you're trying to remember what you're. She likes to leave you hanging on a word. Suddenly I see, this is what I wanna be. Suddenly I see, why the hell it means so much to me. Suddenly I see, this is what I wanna be. Suddenly I see, why the hell it means so much to me. And she's taller than most, and she's looking at me. I can see her eyes looking from the page of a magazine.
Your bridge to the world. BeFM 부산 영어방송.
새로운 다우니. 건조기를 사용하면 섬유유연제 향기가 사라진다고요? 깜짝 놀라실 거예요. 다운이는 건조기를 사용한 후에도 향이 오래오래. 그래서 입는 순간까지. 다운이 7일간 피어나는 향수. 다운이.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는